Oh, hello, everybody. Today on the Cash Confident Podcast, we are going to work on the quantum mindset. So, July, we're working on the quantum leap, the exponential growth, all of the things. And so, I'm going to just go over some of the really cool mindset tricks that I work with my clients on. All right, so the first thing that I want to explain is why the 10x is easier than the 2x, right? So there's a book called 10x is easier than 2x. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan wrote it together. The first chapter of that book, if you haven't read it, is a really good book. So anybody who's looking to scale her business, honestly, that's a great resource. He puts super practical steps to the quantum leap. And he doesn't describe it as a quantum leap. It's a very it's a very business book, it's a very businessy book. It's so funny. One of my clients was like, have you read this book? You teach all of the same things. Have you read this book? You teach it. You're teaching the same things. And I was like, no, I haven't read the book. But it's funny. I read the book and I was like, oh, the process is the same. So anyways, the 10x is easier than the 2x. The exponential is easier than the linear growth. And here is why. The main reason is, let's just say I'm making 100,000 a year and I want to be, and I want to be moving up toward $1 million. Now, my mindset is very likely going to have a hard time conceptualizing that because it's so much bigger than what I've been up to, what we've been doing, the numbers that I've been seeing, the amount of clients or customers that I have. All right. So most of us, our mind is going to go like, all right, well, what do we think we could do? Right. And very likely that path is going to go to linear, logical level growth. And that's not necessarily bad or wrong. It's all fine. But where the challenge is let's say I'm making 100 and I want to now make 200. Right, so I want to double. Well, there's going to be 1,000 ways that plan could work. There's going to be a lot of different offers I could implement. There's going to be a lot of different segments I could do. There's going to be, very often I'm going to be like, what more could I do? What's working? What more could I do? Right. And that can all work. Where 10x is actually easier, because when I think about what could take me to the million, what strategies could actually take me to the million, what I'm going to find is there's probably only a handful of strategies that I'm implementing that could go all the way to the $1 million. And what I will also find is that by the time I really look at this, the things that I enjoy doing, the things that I like, very likely there's going to be one, maybe two pathways to get there. Now, why this is easier is because that mental noise, that planning, that strategic state, if you're not careful, you can spend a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of frustration, a lot of spinning, a lot of procrastination, a lot of wondering, a lot of testing, a lot of testing again, a lot of testing and then testing and then testing and then trying all these new strategies. But since you have so many strategies, the possibility of bailing on your plan and then starting a new strategy, girl, this is what I'm talking about. So if you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. That place of just your mind being so full of ideas that it's hard to take action. And when you take action, you're looking for, is it working? And then is it working fast enough? And if it's not working fast enough, should I start another strategy? And right. Okay. So when we have less noise and less possibilities, what can start to work is then we can start to get into execution. And action is the language of the higher mind, right? The higher being, your soul, right? When you get an idea and you take action on it, your soul's like, oh, or yeah, all right, we're taking action. We're serious here, right? Thinking. There's very little benefit in overthinking. I would actually say negative benefit in overthinking. So this is why it's simpler. All right. Now, I don't want to make it sound like it's easy because often this requires us to kill our darlings. Have you ever heard that expression? It's basically sometimes we'll have an aspect of our business that we really love, but it's not the lucrative part. It's not the part that's scalable. It's not the part that can come with us to the next level. And so to kill our darlings means that we have to let those things go. The rule that we're talking about here is the 80-20 rule. And this is true across most sorts of things, is that 80% of your money is going to come from 20% of your effort, right? 80% of your results is going to come from 20%. So it's really looking at your business, finding out what that 20% is, and then letting go of the 80% and doing more of the 20% that moves the needle. So again, this requires a massive amount of letting go. It often requires giving up control, having to hire people. And so I don't want to make it sound like it's easy, but it is. It is. It's easier than doing it the hard way, the long way, but whatever. So I want to talk to you about the biggest challenge that people face here. And I'm going to give you a Jedi mind trick for this. So when it's so funny. Just yesterday, I was in my Limitless Wealth mastermind call, and I'm working on $1 million business plan with one of my clients, and she's making about $200,000 right now. And she has basically 3 tiers of offers that she works on. And so her lowest tier of offer is her least lucrative, but that's all outsourced. Well, not outsourced, but her team takes care of that. So it's not a mental drain. It's not a physical drain on her. Then she's got the mid-tier offers, and those do require her time and attention. And then she's got this new high-tier offer. And she's only sold a few of these, the super high-tier offer. But when I did the math, so her highest tier offer goes for about $2,000. And when I did the math, I was like, well, if you do 50 of those big events, that's your $1 million. And it would take her like almost 1,000 of the smallest tiers and like several hundred of the mid-tier offers to get there. So I was like, all right, so how could we focus more on this? And it was funny. I watched her become visibly uncomfortable when I asked the question. I could see her butthole puckering. I could see her face tighten up. And I was like, all right, well, okay, well, what do we think a good goal is for expanding that? Now she's done 2 this year so far. And she was like, all right, well, we could probably look for 4 next year. And I was like, 4? I want to see her doing 40. You know what I mean? And I could see her mind working out the how. And I could see that was where the challenge was. So her mind was like, I don't know where to find, I don't know how many of these kinds of events there are. I don't know. And I could see that lack of knowledge around the how really causing her brain to seize up and not even think it's possible, not even get there. So today I sent her a message and I said, listen, I want you to think about this. And this is just the example that I gave to her, right? I was like, I want you to think about having 50 of those really big events in a year. So I want you to think about what it would be like. You know, you'd probably have to have a team of XYZ amount. You'd probably be doing this or you'd probably be doing that, what your day could look like. I just want you to think about being there. And for the sake of right now, what I don't want you to do is figure out how you would get there. I just want you to think about being there. This is the Jedi mind trick, because your mind is going to naturally want to go to how could I make this happen? How could I make this happen? The trouble with that is that until you've made the decision that this is what you're going to do, your reticular activating system isn't even programmed to figure out the how. So until you make the decision, your brain isn't even set to figure out how it could happen, right? And this is why the linear is easier for the mind. Let's just say I want to go from level 1 in my business to level 10, and I don't have all of the information, right? I don't have levels 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't have that. My brain is in the unknown. It's a really hard place for my brain to be. So what will happen is my brain is like, all right, well, I know enough about level 1 that I think I could get to level 2. All right, cool. So we'll go to level 2. And then once you're at level 2, you're like, I know how to get to level 3. I know how to get to level 3. But in this world that when we're creating, we don't have to go level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We get to go levels 1 to 10 or levels 1 to 100. And the bigger the distance is, the bigger the quantum leap, the more energetic muscle you'll need to be able to pull it off. All right. But where I'm going with this, so this Jedi mind trick. So when I said don't worry about the how, what we're doing here is an act of imagination. We're not making plans. We're not even thinking about making this into reality. What we're doing is we're moving our mind to the 10th floor. Now, what will happen when we stay there is sooner or later, our body will start to catch up. We'll start to feel the feelings of that. Now, also, when you imagine those things, all of your limiting beliefs are still going to come up. The point here is to just be like, hey, mind, we're doing a daydream here. We're not making plans. So let me make a note of your belief structures that are in the way, but we're daydreaming, right? So it's almost like a fantasy. Like, we're not making plans. And what happens is when you get your mind and then you start to move your vibe, you start to feel what it would feel like, and which will happen naturally if you can daydream in a place long enough, you'll start to feel the feeling. It's the same thing. Like if you think about, let's say you were going to have a sexual fantasy, you might just be sitting there in your mind listening to dirty books. Or, just having a little imagination. And before you know it, you're going to feel turned on, right? Like it's that sort of thing. Now, is Jason Momoa really available to us? Probably not, right? It'd be nice though. Just kidding. I'm happily married. I'm just saying. That's a good looking man. Anyhow, right? So you can have these ideas and you're going to feel the sensation. Now, what happens there when we move our mind there is when you get a sense of like, yeah, this is something I would like, or this is something that I wouldn't like. You get the pictures of like the snapshot. So you're like, oh yeah, this could track or this couldn't track. It starts to help you to reverse engineer how this could be. But the other thing that really happens is once you get your mind to level 10 thoughts become available to you. Level 10 thoughts become available. Now at level 1, you couldn't even think about how to get to level 10 because you don't have level 10 thoughts going on in your mind. You're at level 1. So you're having level 1 thoughts, right? So part of the thing about our mind is also a receiver of information. So the thoughts at different levels of reality are wildly different, right? And you can feel this. Like when you go into, let's say you go into a super gross, seedy motel, your thoughts are going to be like, is my car locked? Does this door lock? Is this room clean? You're going to feel your thoughts are going to go to one place. But if you were at like the most glorious luxury hotel, you're going to be thinking about things like, room service. I wonder what time the pool is open till. I want to go sit downstairs and drink a cappuccino at that bar with the, mahogany seats and the marble top. You know what I mean? Like the thoughts are different in different places, right? And this is true of your mind, right? Like if you take your mind and you go into the challenges and the problems and the delays and the obstacles, your mind is going to go there. But if you take your mind and you go to what's possible, your mind will also go there. And those thoughts have different vibes, and those vibes attract other different thoughts. So the Jedi mind trick, more or less, is to remind yourself that this is an imaginary assignment. All right. But when we do the imagination, I'm going to just explain this real plain. So when we do the imagination, we're with our energy, we're creating something new. So in the present moment, we're in two places at once, kind of. So practically speaking, your body is currently existing in a creation that you've already made. The reality that you're in, this cake is baked. This gum is chewed, right? Like it's already done. Now, where your mind, where your thoughts, where your energy is in the present moment also is creating your future. So this is how loops happen, right? So if I'm in this reality and I'm existing with the thoughts that are in this reality and I'm existing in the energy that's in this reality, I'm going to stay in this reality. So it's the natural way of things to stay in reality, right? The current level of reality that you're at. But if you are really wanting to 10x, then you have to get your mind and get your energy to be someplace different, which honestly can feel a little crazy while you're doing this. But the point of this is more or less just to start to get your mind to have the flexibility to go there. And so the challenge that people face is their mind is going to be like, but how are you going to get there? And you're going to be like, hey, mind, we're not making plans yet. We're simply imagining, we're fantasizing, we're daydreaming. And so the same way that you can watch a Harry Potter movie and love that there's dragons, it's that part of it's called the suspension of belief. It's fine, right? And so that's the Jedi mind trick. Now, if thoughts do come up, just write them down. Just make a note of them and just be like, hey, mind, thanks for bringing this to my attention. We're going to continue on with this imagination. Now, at first, you may have a really hard time doing this, but it's worth it to practice. So that's the Jedi mind trick. Now, the longer that you can stay there, the more that you're going to be able to feel the sensations of it, just like we gave the example of all Jason Momoa ideas. And from there, that's the place where then the ideas, the excitement, like the new feelings start to come on board. Or the like, oh no, this isn't even what I want, right? Like I've had some ideas about business that like when I really felt into them, I'm like, oh no, this isn't even it. This is not the vibe. I don't want this life, right? So you get that clarity there. And then from there, you can play with it until the inspiration comes. Because the inspiration of how the divine downloads, like those are available to you, but when your thoughts get to that new place, right? So what will not work when we want a quantum leap is trying to get there from here, right? We need to mentally go there, energetically go there, and then the action steps come in, and then you can take the actions from the place that you are. So it seems like it's backwards, but it's not. It's the same way we do everything. It's like when you make dinner, you think about chicken parm, you imagine chicken parm, and then you go to the store and you get the ingredients for chicken parm. Then you take the actions. But somehow when it comes to business, that is so terrifying to us because we want an exact plan. An exact plan is great for linear logical growth. So if you want to go from 100 to 200 to 300 to 400, great. A linear plan will work. But if you want to go from 100 to a million, obviously you're going to pass all those other numbers anyways, but if you want to do that, you need to be thinking a little bit different. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this jazzes you up for the quantum mind shift. The last part is, so once you're fantasizing about this, and if you're like, yeah, this is it, once you make the decision that this is what I want, you decide. Now, decision is a really powerful, energetic skill, because you basically do, when you really decide, is you cut away the other options. So you're like, this is what I'm going to have. This is it. I'm deciding, right? And so when you decide on one thing, you're simultaneously deciding that everything else is no thank you. Now, when you make that decision, then that's the place that your reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters your reality, can start to look for the opportunities. But it's the decision that turns the reticular activating system to know that this is important and to find out how to get there. So the process goes like this. So you're going to take your mind, you're going to imagine the new reality without consideration for the how, because the how at this stage is just going to get in the way. So you're just going to imagine. You're going to do your best to feel into it. As you feel into it, you want to get to a place where the feelings feel normal, where they feel like, yes, positive, neutrally positive, right? So then we start to really place this. So now we have the idea. Now we're vibrationally there, even though physically we're still here. We're vibrationally someplace else. We're vibrationally on the 10th floor. So then if we like what we see on the 10th floor, if this makes sense, if we're like, yes, okay, then you make the decision that this is how you're going to go. And then the inspirations, then the divine downloads, then the how will start to materialize. Then you'll start to be able to figure it out, right? But that happens after you go there in your mind, and that happens after the decision is made. All right. So, all right. I hope this is helpful to you. I love you so much. Also, listen, I have spaces available in Limitless Wealth. And so Limitless Wealth is my mastermind level offer. It is for women who are scaling their businesses. It's really best for people who, you don't necessarily already have to be making some money, but you have to have some clarity. You have to have some momentum. You have to know what you're doing. This is a process on the 10X. It's not a marketing necessarily program. It's not a sales program, although we can do a little bit of that, but it's more about how to become that version of you that can hold 7 or 8 figures. It's how to hold yourself during the quantum leap. There's a lot. It's the entire inner work, the invisible work of big wealth creation. That's what we're doing inside of that program. So it assumes a certain level of hard practical skill. But anyways, I have spaces available for that. So if you click in the show notes, there's a link that will take you to all the places that you can work with me. And so there's one that says hire me and hire BRIE to work with you. And what you can do there is book a free call. Now, in that free call, I'm going to ask you some questions. We will figure out if working together is a fit. All right. Then from there, what will happen is I will offer you a single session, and we will build out your 10X business plan. And I'm going to ask you questions. We'll figure out what mindsets are in the way, where your emotional range is, start to figure out where you are in terms of that invisible skill set. Now, this gives you the chance to feel what it's like to really work with me up close. It's mostly like my ears listen to where your mind is. You'll come away with that plan. Some people will take their plan and they'll go do it on their own. And then some people will work with me for the year for the quantum leap. So if that feels good for you, that's how you get in touch with me. That's how we'll work together. And I'm telling you, I'm really, really very good at helping women do the big jumps. So, all right. I love you. And I'll talk to you next week. Bye, everybody.